A bit of a disclaimer. This video spoils like the entirety of Chapter 3, so if you haven't played it yet, you should probably do that before watching. Anyway, on to the video, I guess. After almost 4 years of waiting, and having no sanity left in this fandom, because what happened, I don't know, Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 are officially out. Now, while I usually only make reviews of games I played on the channel, I decided that this was a special occasion. Now, to get the obvious parts out of the way, the battles, music, and humor are on point as always, so there's not too much to cover there. Someone that is worth covering, though, Mr. Tenna Deltarune himself is the best part of this chapter, and no one can convince me otherwise. He looks like he came out of Donkey Kong Country from the Super Nintendo and has all the best lines in the chapter, and him busting a move is funny every time. Although he is a relatively tragic character and he ends up redeeming himself in the end, he is relatively threatening when he wants to be, and sometimes unsettling, which I actually like. This chapter would not be nearly as good without him, and he is the main reason why I consider it an acid trip. Now, the chapter itself is structured differently from the two prior chapters. It's divided into boards, which start with a Zelda-styled section where you need to complete certain objectives and ends with a minigame. You'll get different ratings depending on how well you do, which will be important later. The fun gang will attempt to leave the game show after round 2, although Tenna does not like that, and then after that the chapter becomes more traditional. The chapter ends after beating Tenna, and Susie will convince him that he doesn't need to be afraid of being abandoned, because there will be people who love him. And thus, a happy ending. Tenna turns over a new leaf and lets you seal the fountain. Alright, it's time to talk about that secret problem. You see, the problem is that finding the secret sucks. It was a play on words, you see. Getting S ranks on the board lets you play on an odd console. Each game will give you a key at the end, which will let you progress in the next one. It eventually ends with a Zelda-style boss fight, which gives you the Shadow Mantle as a reward. The atmosphere of these games are spot on. I was creeped out the entire time. And aside from having to carve a path out of bounds, it's relatively straightforward. But you might be wondering, who is the secret boss? Holy shit, it's Des, I mean the Roaring Knight. This fight is actually mandatory, but almost impossible normally, unless you have the Shadow Mantle. The character holding it will be able to tank a lot more hits, while the others will likely get obliterated. It's a really hard fight, but it's kind of fun as well. All in all, aside from the fact that it's missable, I had to restart the game in order to get it, getting the Shadow Mantle is not that bad. The egg, on the other hand, in order to get the egg of this chapter, you first need to take this block in this puzzle and throw it over the river. Then you need to get caught by this guy and select 2 specific dialogue options, which will then teleport you to another puzzle that now has that block. Then you need to talk to this guy a whole bunch of times until a cabinet appears, and opening it and then talking to him again will give you a ticket. Then you need to enter battle with this very normal enemy, hover over Croak on X, and then move left. And then finally you'll reach the man. Also, you can't say you'll forget him. Pardon my French, but what the f***? How do we go from walking between 2 rooms to the simplest animal well puzzle? I had to look up a guide for this, which spoiled me about the knight in the process. This unironically deducts a point for this chapter. Also, the chapter has around 36 songs, but it really doesn't feel like it. I don't remember a whole lot of songs for some reason. Also, the fact that you spend a lot of time in the green room makes the chapter feel a lot smaller than it actually is. Anyway, as for other stuff I liked, Rules Card's one-sided poly relationship is kinda funny. Also, Friend is here. He is not inside anyone though. I'm dragging this out for too long, I'll just end it here. In conclusion, Chapter 3 is pretty cool if I do say so myself. Now I gotta go play Chapter 4, so I'll see you later.